Hey guys, welcome to Saints TV. It's round 13, I think, this weekend, and we're playing the Gold Coast at Metricon Stadium. It's the much anticipated game against the Gold Coast for all the wrong reasons. We aren't going into it with any confidence, with any form. Gold Coast, on the other hand, have been very similar to us. They haven't really performed very well this season. They started the season with probably 4 wins out of the first 7 or 8, so they were doing okay under Stewie Dew, who's come in and done a good job. I have to say, I think he's initially was very refreshing with his game style, and they seem to be enjoying it. Tom Lynch was getting the most. Evening, Darren. And yeah, they've kind of just gone off the rails a little bit. With us, it's kind of been from the get-go, we haven't been performing, we haven't been playing to the standards that we've shown in the last couple of years. And it's just been growing and growing in terms of pressure on the players, on the coaches, on Richo, on the fans. You know, there's not much to talk about, apart from how poor we've been, in social groups when everyone's like, oh, Jake, Saints have been shit again. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to remind me. I know. You don't have to tell me. I go every week and I watch it. So, and I talk about it. So, it's kind of how it is. The teams have come out, which I've just posted, but it's a bit different to what I thought the teams would be. Initially, I was pretty confident Josh Bruce would come back in because he kicked 4, he had, 10 or so marks, played really well. But it looks like the ins for this week are Jack Billings, Billy Longer. You guys let me know what you think about Billy Longer, but I thought we were past that stage. And this leads me to our next one. David Armitage is back. Again, it looks like Richo's going for a very similar sort of lineup to what we've been going for the last couple of weeks. The last couple of years, in terms of Armitage was in okay form last year and the year before. Longer was our number one ruck last year. So it looks like he's almost reverted back to what we've built on from the last couple of seasons, as opposed to what he's been sticking with this season, which is, the Caulfields, which Caulfield was, again, dropped, which I thought was very harsh. Jack Loney is dropped. It's very interesting. Jake Carlisle's the big return, so I feel like him coming back is great. Austin remains. It looks like Brown's staying in. I didn't see his name in the omissions, unless I missed it completely. But yeah, we haven't, and Phillips very stiff. Good point, Luke. Phillips has been very stiff, so it looks like he's gone from backing a lot of the youngsters that, got beaten fair and square last week to a very good Sydney team, and he's gone for experience. He's gone for what he thinks the team can perform as, not exactly on current form, because Armo hasn't been great in the first. He's getting an average of like 12 possessions when he comes into the AFL, as opposed to his 30 or 40 he's getting consistently in the VFL. And Jack Billings, again, he was dropped for 1 week, had 50-odd touches and kicked 3. It was his best performance by a Sandy player in a long time. So it was kind of a given that we knew that he was going to come in, especially after the performance from Sydney. If, the Caulfields and the Hunter Clarks and that, maybe got the job done against Sydney, or it was a competitive game for at least a couple of quarters, maybe they would have kept him out for another week. But I feel like there's a bit of urgency, and we need to get our best players on the park. We need to get a win against Gold Coast, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-point win or a 10-goal win. It just needs to be a fucking win, because there is so much pressure on the club. It might be, even if we, it could, the win itself against Gold Coast isn't really the important thing. It's finding form against Gold Coast that can lead us to maybe a better second half of the season. I think that's where the importance lies, is getting form, getting momentum, getting confidence, kicking straight, playing as a team again, not seems to be playing as individuals. There's a part last week with Webster pointing at Austin, telling him to do something. Austin just ignored him, then Webster freaking yelled at him to man up on someone, then Austin did it. So I don't want players to be pissed off at each other, and it's a learning curve for Austin. He needs to listen to the senior heads, and we need more of them. So we need more players like Webster pointing fingers, yelling, like the Goddards. He's criticised, and I've said this before, he's criticised when he does it at Essendon, but I'd love a player like him to do it at St Kilda, and maybe an Armitage is coming in just for that more senior sort of body. He could probably play forward pocket. He's probably not going to play midfield. If they're bringing in Billings, Billings is always kind of renowned of playing half forward flank, high wing, but I feel like he had 50-odd for Sandy in the middle. They played him dead in the middle the entire game. Maybe that's a chance this week, is that Armo can play that defensive forward. Doesn't need to do a lot of running. He's a decent mark. if he kicks 2 or 3 goals off 10 possessions, you'd take that every day of the week. He doesn't need to be in the middle. We've got Seb Ross, we've got Dunstan that stays in, we've got Jack Billings. There's guys there that can run through the middle. Sinclair's been in better form. So there's enough players going through the middle that you don't need David Armitage to be the focal point of the midfield anymore. Nor should he be. He's not been in great form. He's been a bit off the pace. But he's in this week, so we're going to have to deal with it. Billy Long is back. Again, we're probably not going to get as much impact around the ground like we would with a Hickey, but maybe in terms of centre clearances, which we've been dominated in this season. He was good in that respect last year. He won a lot of hit-outs, and he actually seemed to create a lot of space for the Seb Ross, the Jack Stephen, around the ball, just because of his big body and getting in front of the other ruckman, blocking the other mids. So I think it looks like Richo said, okay, we need a refresh. Let's go back to what went well last season and the season before. And I'm hoping that's the case. That's why I was surprised that Josh Bruce didn't come back in, because he's available. But potentially after the bye, probably just another week in this for Sandringham with his back injury. They don't want to rush him back in. And also that was probably the same reason for Nathan Freeman, which I was very keen and actually very confident that I was going to see his name in the ins, but they weren't. So it wasn't. So again, not rushing him back, but it could have been that little bit of injection of excitement, just to get a new player. What harm is it going to do? He's getting injured at Sandy anyway. Give him a bloody go. G'day, Ian. Give him a go at AFL level, but it looks like they'd rather, debut him maybe against Melbourne at the MCG the week after. I don't know the ins and outs. Weller keeps his spot. He was under some huge criticism this week. He was terrible against Sydney. But then again, most of our players were terrible. So it's hard to pick who to drop when, 18 of the 22 were average. So it looks like he's going off form, but he's also going off structure and what he thinks is probably the best chance that we are to win this game, and maybe to pick up some form and to pick up some points for the remainder of the season. I'll quit my ranting there. Let's go through some comments. Let's go back to the top. As usual, there's always plenty of comments, so thanks very much, guys. Stuart asks, how far away do I think Bruce is? I feel like they're going to give him until after the bye. So we could maybe see a Nathan Freeman, Josh Bruce to come back into the team against Melbourne at the MCG, which could be quite exciting. Grant is asking why the coach is not required to explain to fans and to the members why they're dropping certain players and why they're promoting other players. A bit of transparency would reduce support frustration. That would be good. Imagine if Richo came out and said, okay, guys, Longer in this week, Hickey being dropped. Hickey knows he needs to work on his hit-outs as opposed to just going around the ground. He's body-on-body with the other ruckman, hasn't been up to standard the last couple of weeks, and he knows that. He needs to go back to Sandy and be a bit more physically competitive in that area. How good would that be? I'm not criticising Hickey. I'm not saying Long is better. I'm not saying Hickey's better, but I'm just clearing it up. I guess they just don't think they need to because it's their decision. But then again, the supporters pay the wages of the coaches of the players, you know. So a bit of transparency in that area, particularly because we haven't been going as well. I feel like that wouldn't hurt the club to kind of be transparent, be more positive, and it would stop all these comments of people saying, "Oh, F this, why are they dropping that guy? Why didn't they bring in Freeman? Maybe there's something about Freeman. Maybe he's got the cold. Maybe he's tweaked his hammy in training." Be transparent. Josh Bruce the same. Come out and say, "Okay, guys, we wanted to bring Josh Bruce back in this week, but we just want to give him another week off with his back." Josh Murphy is saying he's finding out who wants to wear the jumper and he doesn't give a shit full. This is the week. Who gives a fuck about our colours, about the fans? We're away from home, but there's going to be travelling fans there, no doubt. I was going to be one of them, but decided against it. But I will hopefully go to the Adelaide away game in a couple of weeks' time. I feel like this is the week where it doesn't matter, in terms of stats. It's just get the fuck stuck in, tackle hard, stop Tom Lynch, kick a bag, Membry, McCartan, Battle. It's good to see Battles retain his position because he was great last week. That's probably why they didn't drop Josh Bruce, come to think of it. Battle was great. You don't want to drop Membry or McCartan, and you got too many talls if you bring in Bruce. So I feel like it was either dropping Hickey this week as a tall and bring in Longer, or dropping in a forward. And in this case, they went for the ruck change. But maybe in another week, they'll go the opposite and go for a forward. Meg Lewis is disappointed with the team. Don't think Koff should have been dropped. 100%. I'm not overly disappointed when I think about why he did the changes he did, but I'm disappointed that Caulfield's one of those changes because I feel like he's one of the players you want to get the most games into. Eddie's given the thumbs up, so cheers for that. Grant is his fear of loss is greater than desire for development this week. Seems to be the case. In a way, that's what I was trying to say, is that he just wants to get this game out of the way and win it, and then go back to the plan. But I hope this isn't a short-term sort of fix. I want him to still look at the long-term, because that's what we all care about. That's why we're all fans. We want the team to be successful long-term, isn't it? You know. Weller stays in. A few people are pretty disappointed with that. Oh, why? Oh, okay, so it looks like Battle... Yeah, Battle is in. Thank you. Oh, no. Yeah, someone said Battle's out, and he's actually in. It got me confused. Thanks, guys, for confusing me. Billings must play in the guts, 100%. Maddie says Josh Bruce is available, but Allen hasn't put him in the squad. That's 100% true. Anastasia says Billings should be a mid. He isn't a forward, and he showed in VFL clearly with 53 possessions and 3 goals that, yeah, he can play midfield. I mean, midfield at Sandy versus midfield in the AFL, completely different thing. He's got the skills for it. He's big enough. He's quick enough. He's smart enough with the ball. The one thing that coaches have talked about internally in the club about why he hasn't been pushed there full time is one thing, and that's his tank, that he can't run a game out fully in midfield. He is not fit enough at the moment. But the only way to get fit enough is to throw him in there and say, go 3 quarters there, maybe rest the last quarter in the forward line. There's no reason why he can't do that. Meg Lewis has also said Longer has been showing more around the ground in the seconds. Again, like with Billings, it's Sandy versus AFL. I mean, I think Gold Coast aren't doing too great in terms of ruck stock, so this could be a good week for Billy Longer, or it could be, just a week to show off before, we trade him at the end of the year, depending on which way the club goes for draft picks. Nathan says Weller is a passenger other than 1 goal loney. Doubts his stats. Why do we keep playing Weller? He's crap. I think it's just size. He's just competitive. He doesn't get a lot of the ball, but he chases and tackles, and he gives kind of forward pressure. And without Ben Long there, we need someone of that ilk to just try and keep the ball inside 50. Not necessarily to be the cleanest player, but just to tackle the hell out of defenders. And hopefully we'll see that this week. Joe says, if by chance we win this week, please don't come out and say the Saints are back. Absolutely. Do I seem like a guy that would decide to do that? I'm a very strong Saints fan, but I'm not that one-eyed that I'd be like, the lid's off, premiership's on. We'd be 2.5 wins. We would still be like a couple of points below Gold Coast on the ladder, even if we win this game. Everyone talks about how bad Gold Coast have been. Think about it. We are a game and a half off them. We're 6 points behind them on the ladder. So there's no reason at all in any shape, way or form to get ahead of ourselves. If we then to have the bye and then come back and beat Melbourne at the G, then we can say, okay, there's something there. But that remains to be seen. Why is Phillips out? I think he's been good since he's been in, but even a few of my other Saints mates that have been watching the games, they think that he's kind of just been running out of gas. So maybe he's omitted, but he's just having a rest. So hopefully he can have a week off, come back stronger. He's been a very good first-year player for us, so we don't want to burn him out, just like Caulfield. But hopefully he can just have a rest. He knows he's been good. Hopefully the coaches have been giving him that sort of recognition and confidence in himself, because he's shown that he can match it. He's averaging over 20 possessions. He's been very good. Ben Edwards says, with Logan Austin still on the side, maybe Carlisle goes forward. We look too tall down back. We'd also look too tall down forward, mate, if we do that, because then you'd have McCartan, Bembry, Battle, and Carlisle. That's 4 talls. That's 4 players over 6'2". That's way too tall. I feel like he's still going to remain at fullback, and Carlisle's going to be the spare, and that's how it's going to go. Unless they do something else, but I feel like we'd be too tall at either end if we did that. A lot of people talking about Phillips being really good. Anastasia reckons that Webster's the only player that's been consistent this season, 100%. Webster's been our best player. He'll be a mile clear in the best and fairest this time. When they go through the rounds, he will be well and truly have won it by this stage, I reckon, unless something drastically changes in the squad and other players just take over. But he'd be a good shout for it at the moment. I reckon that's probably it, guys. Massive week for Billings. It's a massive week for the club. Let's just get straight to it. This week is so fucking important just for our club and just how it's perceived. We just need to come out and we just need to get the job done, no matter what. People are talking about Gold Coast not being a club in 10 years' time. We do not want to be in that conversation where people are thinking, is St Kilda even worthy of being a club? I can't believe people even comment that. I've been reading it online all week. Let's just get rid of St Kilda. And these are just other Richmond fans that 2 years ago were saying the exact fucking thing about their club, and now they're premiers and they can talk about whatever the hell they want. But it just hurts me to think that. I follow this club because I love this club. I know they haven't been the most successful, but fuck, there have been some good times watching them at Etihad dominate teams. Gary kicking 10. You got Rewalt, you got Dalsano, Goddards, you got Lenny Hayes, Robert Harveys, Tony Lockett's, Nicky Winmars, Trevor Barker's. You've got so many good players across the years. We just need to fucking sort out how we can get that ultimate success. And it's just going to be knuckling down, working hard, maybe changing some coaches. Apparently I heard that, on a separate note, Grant Thomas has been chatting to someone at our club. I don't know if it's the president or another coach, but as kind of I guess on the side sort of freelance, just to give some tips on how to get the club going again. Not to be a coach, not to be hired as a coach in any way, but just to kind of oversee the problems and maybe kind of give some tips on what's going on. Because, to be fair, in 2004 when he got us up and about and got us to a prelim where we probably should have made the grand final and won the whole thing, he knew how to coach a fast, exciting team that had a specific brand. If he can have it saying, I know he would be more help than fucking Ben Dixon at the moment. So get Grant Thomas on board, get some of the old Saints back, in terms of coaching positions. And I think that would go a long way to us being back in contention. But anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the game, the changes, and just how you're feeling. How do you feel this week? Are you feeling confident? Are you feeling positive about the result? What happens? Okay, this is a bad scenario. Comment your thoughts. What happens if we lose on the weekend? What happens if we are convincingly beaten to the Gold Coast Suns? What the hell happens? I'll leave it there on a positive note. I'll leave it there. Thanks again for watching, guys. You'll see me for the post-game review, obviously, Saturday. Just before, it's probably going to have to be a quick one because 8 p.m, Socceroos are on. So our game's at 4:30. Probably finish by about 7:30. We'll have a quick one and then we can get into the Socceroos. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching and see you soon.